We're going to start our solving systems by elimination, which is lesson 3.3. This is page 16, so go ahead and pause the video and copy down these notes. Now that you have the notes, some of it might not make sense just yet, but we're going to use these notes to be able to help us solve these problems. So again, step 1 is to make sure both equations are in slope-intercept form. These two are both in slope-intercept form, as you can see, right? Oh, sorry, not slope-intercept form, standard form. We want variables on one side, constants on the other. Variables on one side, constant on the other, right? It's in the ax plus by equals c format for standard form. Now, my goal is to eliminate one of the variables, right? So what I'm going to do is multiply one of the equations by -1. Now, elimination doesn't mean you're always going to be multiplying by -1. Sometimes it might be perfectly set up and you might not have to multiply anything at all. The next lesson we'll get to the harder problems where you have to multiply by a different number or divide by a different number. But for now, we're going to stick to multiplying by -1. So I'm going to multiply everything here by -1. If you chose the second equation to multiply -1 by, that's okay too. You have options here. I'm going to bring this down, so it's a -x minus 4y equals -13. I'm also going to draw two lines because now I'm not focusing on the top two equations, I'm focusing on these bottom two equations. So my eyes go to focus right here in the middle. Now, step 3 is to combine like terms. Now, this is what is different. We are going to be combining vertically, up and down, because it's a system, right? It's kind of like a set. So up and down, an x and a -x cancel out. That gives me a 0x, which is just 0. A -y and a -4 give me a -5y. And a +3 and a -13 give me a -10. I have now eliminated the x value. It's gone, right? So I'm only left with y. So I'm going to divide to solve for this variable that's left over. And so I get y equals 2. I just cut my steps of substitution in half. Now, step 5 says to substitute, right? Which we're going to. We're going to take one of the equations. We're just going to take the top one again. I'm going to rewrite it. X plus 4y equals 13. So I know exactly what I'm substituting it into. Now that I have y, I can go ahead and substitute 2 in for that y. And I can go ahead and solve. So I get x plus 8 equals 13. Subtract 8. And so I get x equals 5. Meaning my coordinate point is now 5, 2, because I said y was 2, 5 was x. So this is my final answer. Let's try that again. For number 2, are they set up in standard form? Yes, they are. So now can I see which ones I can eliminate? Well, these two kind of look alike, right? They're the same exact number. So if I just make one of them a negative, I can eliminate it. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's multiply the top by -1. I have a -3x plus 10y equals -14. So let's look at combining our like terms up and down. These two cancel out. These two, -9y and a +10y, I get a +y equals a -2. Guess what? Even with eliminating, I didn't even calculate. I didn't calculate much, and I already have my y. Now I substitute. Again, take either of the original equations. I could take the top one, or I can take the bottom one. It is up to you on which one you want to use, and you're just going to substitute your y so that you can solve it. Once you solve it, you get an answer of 2, as you can see. To -2, -2. The last type of problem I want to go over is number 4 on this page, on page 16, right? You're going to be practicing with page 16 and page 17. You'll notice step 1 is not handled. Step 1 is to make sure they're in standard form. And for number 4, they are not set in standard form. So we actually have to change it to put it into standard form. So let's go ahead and start to rearrange this. For this one, I have to subtract 3x. I'm going to bring it down here. I get a -3x plus y equals 4. Now it's in standard form. This one I have to subtract x as well. So I get -x plus y equals -2. So now I'm not looking at the top ones anymore. I'm just looking at these two that are in red. Okay, am I going to have to do step 2 by saying I need to multiply them by -1? Well, if you look at it, right, the x's is a -x and a -3x. No, those are not similar, but my y's are the same, a positive y and a positive y. So let me multiply, let me multiply this one by -1, the top one, until I get x minus y equals a +2. I can erase this black line, or I can move it to the top because now I'm focused on those two equations. So that's the tricky part, right? You only want to be looking at two equations at a time. See how I'm moving it up? You might want an index card or your hand to slowly move it so you don't have to draw those lines, but you slowly just start to hide what you're not looking at. Now I can combine up and down. A -3x and a positive x gives me a -2x. A positive y and a negative y, they cancel out. A +4 and a 2 give me a +6. So I'm going to divide both sides by -2, and I get x equals -3. I have the first part. I still need to find the second part. So when you actually solve this, you're going to get -3, -5. So you're going to practice these steps on page 16 and 17. If you want more practice, there's definitely a lot more pages that you can do all the way up to page 20 for extra practice. Go ahead and get started.